quiet power within you that most people overlook, ignore, or simply never learn to use. It is not something outside of you, not something you need to chase, earn, or wait for. It is already yours, already active, already shaping your reality in ways you may not even realize. The truth is simple, yet it can feel almost unbelievable at first. What you assume to be true, consistently and with feeling, becomes your lived experience. And when it comes to relationships, when it comes to that specific person you keep thinking about, this principle becomes even more profound. Right now, you may be wondering why things are the way they are. Maybe they are distant. Maybe they haven't said what you want to hear. Maybe there has been silence, confusion, or mixed signals. But instead of looking at their behavior as something separate from you, consider this: what if their actions are reflecting your inner assumptions? What if everything you are witnessing is simply an echo of what you have been silently accepting as true within yourself? This is where everything begins to shift. Because if your inner world is the cause, then you are no longer powerless. You are not waiting on them. You are not stuck in uncertainty. You are the one who defines what unfolds next. To assume something real is not about pretending in a weak or doubtful way. It is about entering a state of knowing. It is about deciding within yourself that what you desire is already done. Not it will happen someday, not I hope it happens, but this is already mine. And then you live from that place. Imagine for a moment that the person you want has already confessed everything to you. Imagine they have told you exactly what you have been longing to hear, that they think about you, that they miss you, that they feel drawn to you in a way they can no longer ignore. Do not just think about it casually. Feel it. Let it become natural to you. Let it feel normal, like something that has already occurred. When you truly assume this as real, something begins to change. You are no longer reacting to the outside world in the same way. You are no longer checking your phone with anxiety or replaying conversations with doubt. Instead, there is a quiet confidence, a calm certainty. You move through your day knowing that it is already done, even if your senses have not yet caught up. This is where many people go wrong. They assume for a moment, and then they look back at their current situation and say, nothing has changed. But what they are really doing is stepping out of the assumption and returning to the old story. They are giving more attention to what is visible than to what is true within. The key is persistence, not force, not struggle, but gentle, consistent returning to the state of the wish fulfilled. Every time your mind drifts to doubt, you bring it back. Every time you are tempted to question, you remind yourself, it is already done. You do not need to figure out how it will happen. That is not your role. The moment you start asking how, you step back into limitation. The unfolding will take care of itself in ways you could not have planned. Conversations will happen. Circumstances will shift. Things will align in ways that feel almost surprising, yet completely natural at the same time. What matters is that you remain loyal to your assumption. Think about how powerful this really is. You are not trying to change another person. You are not manipulating or forcing anything. You are simply choosing the version of reality you accept as true. And because reality reflects your inner state, everything rearranges to match it. So if you assume they are distant, they will continue to appear distant. If you assume they are confused, they will reflect confusion. But if you assume they are deeply drawn to you, that they are ready to express their feelings, that they cannot hold back any longer, then that is what must be expressed. It becomes inevitable. This is not effort, it is about identity. Who are you in relation to this person? Are you someone who is waiting, hoping, and uncertain? Or are you someone who is already chosen, already desired, already the one they want to confess everything to? The moment you decide who you are, everything else follows. Close your eyes for a moment and place yourself in a scene. Keep it simple. Maybe you are reading a message from them and it says exactly what you have always wanted to hear. Maybe you are hearing their voice telling you directly. Feel the relief. Feel the excitement. Feel the certainty that there is nothing left to question. Stay there not as an observer, but as someone experiencing it now. This feeling is the secret. Not the words, not the technique, but the feeling. Because feeling is what impresses the subconscious, and the subconscious is what shapes your reality. Once you capture that feeling, carry it with you. You do not need to repeat the scene all day or constantly think about it. Just return to the feeling whenever you remember. Let it become your new normal. And when doubts come and they might, you do not fight them aggressively. You simply do not give them power. You acknowledge them and return to your chosen truth. Over time, the old thoughts lose their strength, and the new assumption takes root. There will come a point where you no longer feel like you are trying to believe. It will feel natural. It will feel obvious. And that is when everything begins to solidify. You may notice small shifts first. A message, a sign, a change in their behavior. Do not get overly excited or attached to these moments. They are just reflections, small glimpses of what is already unfolding. Stay focused on the end, because the end is already decided. The person you are thinking of is not separate from this process. They are part of the same reality you are shaping. Their thoughts, their words, their actions, all of it aligns with the assumptions you hold. Not in a forced way, but in a natural, effortless way. It will feel like they came to their own realization, like they chose to express their feelings on their own, and in a sense they did. But it was your inner state that made that version of them visible in your experience. This is why it is so important to stay consistent. Not perfect, just consistent. You do not need to get it right every second of the day. You just need to return to your chosen assumption more often than you return to doubt. And slowly, quietly, everything changes. You will find yourself feeling more at peace, less reactive, more certain. And without even realizing it, you will start to expect things to go your way. That expectation is powerful. It shapes your reactions, your energy, your presence. And others feel that. When the moment finally comes, when they say what you have been imagining, it will feel both exciting and familiar. Almost as if it had already happened, because in your inner world it did. You will realize that nothing was random, nothing was outside of your influence. It was all a reflection of the state you chose to occupy. So instead of waiting, you step into knowing. Instead of hoping, you assume. Instead of questioning, you decide. Assume it real. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Live from that truth. Feel it, accept it, and let it be enough. And then watch. Watch how things begin to shift in subtle ways. Watch how circumstances align. Watch how the person you once thought was distant becomes open, expressive, and honest. Watch as they confess everything to you, not because you forced it, not because you chased it, but because it was already written within you. This is your power. This is your reality. And it begins the moment you decide what is true. And as you continue in this state, something even deeper begins to unfold within you. You start to notice that your desire is no longer something that creates tension or longing. It becomes something calm, something steady, something already settled. The urgency fades, and in its place comes a quiet confidence that does not need validation from the outside world. You may still see moments where nothing seems to be happening, where the outer reality appears unchanged. But now those moments do not shake you the way they once did. You understand that what is visible is always a reflection of what has already been assumed, and so you do not rush the process. You remain faithful to your inner knowing. This faith is not blind. It is not forced. It is built through repeated return to the same inner truth. Each time you choose to feel as if it is already done, you strengthen that state. Each time you refuse to entertain doubt as something final, you take your power back. And slowly the story you once told yourself begins to dissolve. The story of distance, of confusion, of waiting, it loses its grip because you are no longer feeding it with your attention. Instead, you are feeding a new reality, one where everything you desire is already yours. Think about how often people replay old memories, old conversations, and old disappointments. Without realizing it, they are keeping those moments alive, giving them energy, allowing them to continue influencing what happens next. But now you are doing something different. You are replaying the outcome you prefer. You are giving life to a version of events that aligns with your desire. This is where true change happens, not in the outer world first, but in the inner world where everything begins. You might find yourself smiling for no apparent reason, feeling a sense of connection even when there has been no recent communication. That is not imagination in the ordinary sense. That is alignment. That is you occupying a state where the connection already exists, regardless of what the senses currently show. And when you stay there long enough, the outer world has no choice but to mirror it. It may happen in a way you least expect, a message at an unusual time, a shift in their tone, a conversation that flows effortlessly where before it felt strained. And when it happens, you may be tempted to think, this is it, it's finally working. But even then, you remain grounded in your knowing, because you understand that it was always working. There is also something important to realize about control. Many people believe that in order for something to happen, they must constantly think about it, analyze it, or try to manage every detail. But this only creates resistance. True assumption is relaxed. It is certain without being tense. It is like knowing the sun will rise tomorrow. You do not worry about it. You do not check every moment to see if it is happening. You simply know. And that same kind of knowing is what you bring into this. So when thoughts arise like, what if it doesn't happen? Or why haven't they said anything yet? You do not fight those thoughts aggressively. You simply recognize that they belong to an old state, a state you are no longer choosing. And you gently return to your assumption. Over time, those thoughts come less frequently. And when they do appear, they carry less weight. They no longer feel like truth. They feel like echoes of something that is already fading away. Meanwhile, your new state becomes more natural. You begin to think from it automatically. You begin to react from it without effort. And that is when it truly becomes part of you. In this process, patience is not about waiting in frustration. It is about remaining steady in your inner world, regardless of what is happening outside. It is about trusting that what you have assumed is already taking form, even if you cannot yet see the full picture. And this trust changes everything, because when you trust, you stop interfering. You stop questioning every small detail. You allow things to unfold in their own way, in their own time. And that allows the process to move more smoothly, more naturally. There is also a shift in how you see another, the other person. Instead of viewing them as unpredictable or separate from your experience, they are part of your experience. You begin to see them as someone who is fully capable of expressing exactly what you desire. You no longer put them on a pedestal or see them as someone you need to impress or convince. You see them as someone who already feels what you have assumed they to feel. This changes the dynamic completely. Now, instead of wondering what they are thinking, you already know. Instead of trying to interpret their actions, you rest in the certainty of your assumption. And because of this, your interactions, whether direct or indirect, begin to feel lighter, more natural, more aligned. You are no longer trying to get something from them. You are simply experiencing what you have already accepted as true. And that is what makes the difference. At times, you may even forget that there was ever a time when things felt uncertain. The new state becomes so familiar that it replaces the old one entirely. And in that space, everything flows more easily. You might notice that you are less attached to timing. Whether it happens today, tomorrow, or in a few days, it no longer matters in the same way. Because in your inner world, it has already happened. The outcome is already secured. This detachment is not indifference. It is confidence. And confidence has a quiet power to it. It does not demand. It does not chase. It simply exists, and in doing so, it draws everything toward it. As you continue to live from this place, you may begin to see patterns in your past. Moments where your assumptions, whether positive or negative, played out in your reality. And this recognition only strengthens your belief in what you are now doing. You realize that this is not something new. It has always been happening. The only difference now is that you are doing it consciously. And that awareness gives you even more control over your experience. So you continue not with effort, but with ease. Not with doubt, but certainty. Not with desperation, but with calm assurance. You return to the feeling whenever you need to. You remind yourself of what is already true. You stay loyal to your assumption, even when the outer world tries to show you something different. And little by little, the outer world begins to catch up. You may hear their name more often. You may have dreams that feel incredibly real. You may sense a shift that you cannot quite explain. All of these are signs that your inner state is taking root. But you do not cling to these signs. You do not depend on them. You simply acknowledge them and continue. Because your focus is not on the signs, it is on the end. The end where everything has already been said, where everything has already been expressed, where there is nothing left unsaid between you. And you live from that end again and again until it feels like the only reality that exists for you. Until it becomes so natural that you no longer question it at all. In the end, nothing changes until you do, and the moment you do, everything follows. What you consistently accept as true within yourself must take shape in your world. So stop waiting for proof, stop looking for signs, and step fully into the reality where it has already happened. Feel it, trust it, live from it. Because the moment you truly assume it as real, the outcome is no longer a possibility, it becomes inevitable.